So the London-based company Nothing has been on the market for quite a while now, and we've seen many interesting things in terms of design. Here we have the Nothing Phone 2, and today we're going to talk about it and see what are the pros and what are the cons of this phone. The design here is way different than most of the other Android phones that we see, because this company is going towards a little bit more modern, a little bit more interesting looking design in terms of the back, in terms of the features like the glyph lights, for example. And this is an approach that I really like, I really enjoy, because I am, to be honest, tired of all the phones that we see nowadays that are in the flagship and in the premium segment, that are always looking the same, that are not different in any terms. Here we have different design, here we have a bold design that we saw with the previous Nothing phone, and now we have a similar design with a little bit of tweaking when it comes to the second phone. The glass is made of Gorilla Glass, the front is made also of Gorilla Glass, and the frame of the phone is metal. Not only that it's metal, it's flat, and that's why many people say that it is the iPhone of the Android world, because the frame is flat and because of the bezels of the screen that are the exact same size like some of the iPhones. First of all, the comfort when using this device, it is very comfortable, mainly because of the flat frame and because of the slight curvature on the back of the phone, on the back glass. It fits very well in the hand, and I find it to be very comfortable to use it. Even with my medium-sized hand, I can use it with no problems with one hand. Another great thing about the design is that the buttons are positioned very adequately. We have the power button on the right side of the phone, and we have the volume rockers at the left side of the phone, but they are a little bit lower than most of the other phones that we are used to see on the market. And this gives you the option to use it with one hand if you are with smaller hands like I am, and this gives you the option to use it without any hassle, without needing to move your hand or to slide the phone in your hand. And this is a big thumbs up from me for Nothing, for making the button positioning that adequately, and to be honest, I like it very much. This is a savior. And as we are talking about the exterior of the phone, I have to mention that you have a USB Type-C port at the bottom right next to the SIM tray, and on the other side you have one of the two stereo speakers, because this phone comes with stereo speakers that are okay. We have a little bit of a difference in the screen part when it comes to comparing the first and the second device. This here comes with 6.7-inch AMOLED screen, which is LTPO screen, and this means that it will control the refresh rate from 1 to 120 Hz, depending on the things that you're doing on the phone. If you're scrolling in the settings menu, it will be limited. If you are just using your phone like this on the lock screen, it will be maybe at 1 Hz, so it will save battery life. What I have to say about the screen, there are two options about the colors. You can set it to vivid colors, or you can set it to more natural, more normal looking colors, that I actually prefer, because when I'm editing photos on the phone, I prefer to have a little bit more of a color accuracy. Here we don't have the most color accurate screen, but in no terms the screen is bad. It has nice details, it has nice colors, and also the brightness. The brightness here comes to 1600 nits in HDR, and it comes to 1000 nits peak brightness when you are adjusting through the slider, so you won't be having any issues when looking at the phone in direct sunlight, which is something very good and which is something crucial when you are getting a phone that you're able actually to see the screen when you are outside and you have to do something. 120 Hz is great when you are playing some games, and this phone here provides you with this opportunity to play games with no problem at all because of the hardware. This here comes with Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, 12 GB of RAM and 256 gigs of memory. This is my unit. There are also 8 gigs of RAM and 512 GB of memory for the 12 gig versions, but this depends on the user preference. If you need more RAM, you're going for the more RAM, but keep in mind, if you need more storage, go with the 512 gigs, because you won't be able to use a SD card to expand the storage. This here doesn't have an SD card slot. And I don't think that I have to talk that much about the productivity of this phone, about the performance, because all of you are familiar with the 8 Plus Gen 1. It is still a great chip, it still has plenty of power and is somehow energy efficient, so you can play almost every games that you like. I'm playing Call of Duty Mobile and I didn't see any issues at all, didn't see any lag, any stutter, anything at all. Everything was running buttery smooth on maximum settings on the 8 Plus Gen 1. And interestingly enough, the phone wasn't overheating in my hand. I have run also a throttle test, and in my opinion everything was okay with this chip. The cooling is adequate, and the power, as I said before, is plenty. So no matter what you are throwing as an application or game to this phone, it will run buttery smooth. You won't be having any issues at all. One thing that I was going to forget to talk about, the stereo speakers. These are not the greatest that you can have in a phone, and especially in a phone in this price range, but these are loud enough. If your phone is in the other room and it rings, you're going to hear it for sure. And also these here have very high-pitched noise, and maybe this is the thing that I mainly don't like. I like a little bit more of a body in the sound, I like a little bit more bassy speakers, but these do not provide with this kind of characteristics in the audio. But nonetheless, they are not bad. They are just not tweaked to my preference of stereo speakers. I have heard better stereo speakers, but these are loud enough. They have very nice spatial separation, so left to right channel, everything is running great, and I think that most of the people are going to enjoy them as well. If you're going to watch some videos on TikTok, on Instagram, some reels, if you're going to watch some YouTube videos or something on Netflix, on HBO, or whatever streaming platform you're using, I think that most of you are going to be pleased with the performance of the screen, with the colors of the screen, and in a package with the speakers themselves, and I think that this is a great machine for such an entertainment. In the Nothing Phone 2 we have a new camera system, or at least partially new camera system. The main sensor is new, it is the IMX890, and the second sensor, the ultra-wide one, is still the Samsung JN1. You also have an IMX sensor at the front, which is 32 megapixels, and I forgot to mention, the main sensor actually is 50 megapixels. The thing here is that not only we have a new sensor, we also have a new processing of the images, of the photos that you are going to take with this phone. So the quality now is considerably better than the Nothing Phone 1, and the Nothing Phone 1 was actually expected to be like that in terms of the image quality of the photos. So when it comes to photos, you have very nice detail, you also have very nice colors, you have a decent dynamic range, nothing wow, but the camera itself is absolutely okay in this price range, in my opinion. Also, I think that this phone is not made for the more pretentious people that are going to look forward for a camera phone or something like this. I think that they're going to go for the Pixel 7a, but keep in mind that the Pixel 7a will give you a better camera, but I doubt that it will give you better performance than the 8 Plus Gen 1 on the Nothing Phone 2. In terms of video, there are some things that I like, some things that I don't like. Here we have very nice stabilization on the main sensor and on the ultra-wide sensor, and they record with 4K up to 60 frames per second. The thing that I don't enjoy very much is that we don't see 4K recording option on the front sensor, and we have plenty of megapixels, we have plenty of processing power. I don't know what the issue is and why Nothing are not making this possible to record 4K on the front camera. This is something that I see in most of the new phones. I don't like it. Even in the Xiaomi 13 Ultra you can record 8K with the main sensor and Full HD with the front camera, which is absolutely insane. I digress a little bit, but now I'm leaving you with some footage and some photos from the camera of the Nothing Phone, so you can decide for yourself if you like it or not. So this is a video sample from the main camera of the Nothing Phone 2. This here shoots at 4K up to 60 FPS, I'm shooting at 30 FPS, and to be honest, I think that the image quality is okay. You have very nice stabilization, you also have very nice detail. The colors are on the okay side, and I think that there should be some things made a little bit better with the dynamic range, because some of the darker areas are too dark for my expectations of this camera. But overall, that is the image quality that you can get from the main sensor. Now we're going to switch to the ultra-wide to see how the JN1 performs. This is the ultra-wide sensor, the Samsung JN1. Again, 4K 30 FPS. The stabilization is good, the colors are okay-ish. I think that the color similarity between the main sensor and the ultra-wide sensor is on a very nice point, and again there are some concerns when coming to the dynamic range, but let's say it like this: this is not a flagship phone, and you cannot expect to have the best camera and the best dynamic range from the cameras for video. Although for vlogs I think that it is okay, and most of the people will be happy with this. And now we're switching to the front camera. And this is the front camera of the Nothing Phone 2. This sensor here shoots with Full HD up to 60 FPS. And I think that this is a little bit of a downside of this phone, maybe the biggest downside of the camera system, because I'm not a fan of the idea that the sensors are not shooting the same resolution with the same FPS. We have here the needed resolution for running 4K. We also have the needed processing power in the face of the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, but We don't have 4K as a recording option, which is a little bit of a boomer, but yeah, that is what you get from the front camera of the Nothing Phone 2. The glyph system is maybe the most interesting, the most charismatic part in this phone. The glyph system are actually the lights that are in the back. These lights are integrated with the software in some terms. So for example, if you receive a call, if you receive a notifications, this here will light in certain way. I like few of the things here, and I find some of them to be a little bit gimmickish. So I'm starting with the things that I like. I like that you can turn on the glyph system by long holding the torch button. It will activate the glyph system, and I also like that one of the lights can be adjusted as a notification that will be always lit when you have received notification. So for example, your phone is like mine all the time, screen down. You receive a notification, but you're not in the room or you're not watching the phone. It blinks, but that's it. Nothing made one of the lights to be lighting all the time if you enable it. So when you receive notification, it will be lit, and it will fade away when you check your notification. Another great thing that I like is that the bottom light actually represents the battery percentage of the phone. When you plug in the phone to charge it, it will rise gradually when the battery is getting on higher percentage, and this is very nice thing. I see that for some countries there is integration with Uber, and I think that this is a great thing. I don't know if it can be called gimmickish. For me, it's a little bit strange. It is not maybe the most useful stuff, but it is still interesting. And maybe the thing that I enjoy the most is that when you use the volume rockers, you can see that the light is changed. But keep in mind, when you are using the volume rockers, you usually watch the screen. You don't watch the back to see what's going on there. There are some things that you can do with the glyph system. So for example, there is a composer for music. You can create your own ringtones, and these ringtones will be synchronized with the glyph system itself, and it will be lighting with the beat of the music. This is very cool. And also I think that this targets the younger audience, because I'm not that hyped about such a thing. I'm not going to make my own music, my own composer stuff, just because the lights are going to shine. Don't get me wrong, I really like the design. I really like the idea. The lights are very cool. The transparent back is also very cool, but I think that there are more useful things that can be adjusted, that can be implemented in the software in the future. And when it comes to the software, the Nothing Phone 2 runs on Android 13 and the Nothing OS 2.02, which is the newer version. I really like this shell. I really like how it looks. I really like how sleek it is, how snappy it is. It is almost a stock Android experience, and not in the basic way that you can think of a stock Android experience. Here you can have some adjustments of the color scheme of the phone. It can go to a monochrome mode, which every icon will be black and white, and everything looks absolutely stealthy if you are into this thing. If you don't like this thing, if you don't like this approach, you can of course go with the colorful icons, and I think that most of the people are going to go with the monochrome look of the phone, because this is some of the essential part of the Nothing system. The software experience for the time that I have been using this phone is absolutely flawless. I didn't experience any issues, any bugs, anything at all. Everything was running buttery smooth, and I hope that it will be like that in the future. This shell also gives you some very interesting things, like for example, when you're on the lock screen, you can put some widgets on them. And where did you see such thing? I think that with the iPhone. Of course, this thing here is a little bit better made, in my opinion, a little bit more functional. You can choose from many shortcuts that are available for being placed on the lock screen of the phone. For example, I am using the torch, I'm using the glyph timer also, so one of the lights will light with the glyph timer, and I'm using the weather widget. These are the things that in my opinion are essential, because with just a quick touch, not needing to unlock the phone, I'm having access to almost everything that I need for a fast glance on the screen of the phone. This is one of my favorite parts of the Nothing Phone 2, and I hope that in the future we are going to see more and more widgets that can be put on the lock screen. And when talking about lock screen, you have to know that here you have two options for unlocking the phone. First, with face recognition, which is not the most secure thing when you don't have an IR camera. And the second thing is the fingerprint reader, which is hidden under the screen. This fingerprint reader works very well in 95% of the time. Maybe if you're with a little bit of a wetter finger, you can have some issues with unlocking the phone, because this is not an ultrasonic fingerprint reader, this is just optical, but let's say that it is okay. Compared to the first phone, this one here is way better. Another upgrade with the Nothing Phone 2 is the battery, and now we have 4700 mAh. It can be charged up from 0 to 100 in 55 minutes, and it also supports 15 watts wireless charging and 5 watts reverse charging. You have to know that you don't have a charging brick in the package when it arrives, and you have to buy a separate one, or you have to use something that you have. When it comes to battery life, I have to say that with no problem I'm getting one full day with single charge, and keep in mind that I'm not one of the guys that is playing games the whole day. So for example, if you are playing most of the time, I think that the battery will be draining a little bit faster, but in my usage I'm getting home with something like 20-ish%, and I'm putting it to be charged for the next day. And I can say that the battery life here is okay. It is an upgrade to the first generation, but I hope to see another upgrade in the next generation. So overall, my experience with the Nothing Phone 2 was mostly flawless. It is a phone that is very fast, that is very stylish, very good looking, no matter that I don't have a case for it, but otherwise everything else is absolutely perfect. I really enjoyed the interface, I really enjoyed the shell, the Nothing OS 2. That is something that is made very well. It is made with thought. When it comes to design, I have to mention again the volume rockers and the power button that are positioned very adequately, and you can use them even if you're with a smaller hand, no matter that the screen is 6.7 inch. Everything feels just in place, everything feels comfortable to be used. One of the slight drawbacks for me for this phone is the camera experience, which is not flawless, but of course I am a person who is using flagship phones and premium phones because of their cameras, and if you're not someone that needs the best quality that they can get from a device that is in their pocket, I think that this will suit you well. Nonetheless, the price here is a little bit steeper than the previous generation, and maybe that's why there are some informations here and there that Nothing are going to release a second sub-brand with a little bit more budget-ish product, and the price here is not one of the most competitive. For this price, as I said, you can go for the Pixel 7a, which for some people will be a better deal, but if you want to be a little bit different, if you want flawless experience with a nearly stock Android, which is a little bit more customized towards the minimalism, and you enjoy the glyphs, I think that this will suit you very well. So guys, thank you for watching this video. If you like it, if you find it useful, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, will be very well appreciated, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye.